Hello everyone. So this is the one thing that I really wanted to do for long, to make a marathon vocab video, and this would really help you, maybe memorize or maybe remember words in a better way. See this video the way you would see any movie. And of course, if you see a movie again and again, you start remembering its dialogues. Same way, if you see this video again and again, I am sure that you would be able to recall words which is a part of this, let's say, movie vocab or vocab movie easily. Let's get started without any further delays, and I'll be telling you a lot of words with different context, and those contexts can be seen as mnemonics. Those contexts can be seen as a way to associate the words, in a way to people, to various aspects. So let me tell you, before I really get on with the real vocab, I want to let you know what is the overall funda of learning the vocabulary. As they say that the broad method is termed as the grasp method. So you can learn vocabulary, let's say one word from this page and one word from some other page, but that makes it cumbersome. And you're giving these entrance examination, let's say for example GRE, and you need probably 1,000 words on the tip of your tongue. How would you do it? You can only do it if you can't do them one here and one there, right? You have to know those words in various effective ways, such as groups. So what is this grasp method? G stands for group. What do I mean by group? So if there are 1,000 words, I guarantee that meanings are only 150 to 200. So let's say there is a one particular word or one particular meaning, it would have similar words which we call it as thesaurus, which we call it as synonyms. So we know that sad is one word, and if you see an example, if you see any entrance examination, they would use melancholy for the same sad concept, they would use lugubrious for the same concept, they would use disconsolate for the same concept. So here is an example that by grouping it becomes easy to remember words. So grasp method, G for group, R for root. So we know the root words, right? So if we know that mal is a root word for bad and bene is a root word for good, it gives you a tremendous advantage, at least for guessing a word. So if I know that, what do I mean by the word malediction? I don't know malediction, but I know this word is negative because mal is there. I say benediction, I don't know what is benediction, but I can tell you that this word has a positive connotation, and that's where the root words can help you certain number of words. A means associating words. You need to associate words with people around you. There is your friend who talks more and more and more. He's a chatterbox. Use a word for him. Use a vocab word loquacious for him. If there is a person, if your friend is very shy, use a word for him, right? If you know what is, Mahendra Singh Dhoni or Captain Cool. So what are the words for Captain Cool? Somebody who is always cool and composed. Associate words with people. Then you need to start using them in various sentences, right? So, use those words in various sentences. You might be mistaking the usage, but still try using them in various sentences. And last is parts of a speech, right? So, it is important to understand that one word sometimes has more than one meaning. As a verb it is different, as a noun it is different. So this differentiation has to be understood. For example, stint means as a verb is nothing but to limit. I would never stint my affection for you as a verb. And stint as a noun, it means a job or any allotted portion, any allotted task is also stint. So look at the word arbitrary has two meanings. One arbitrary is dictatorial and one arbitrary is random. So when you have more than one meaning of one word, it is highly possible, and that's where you understand them as parts of a speech, right? So grasp method, guys, you need to understand, group them, you need to remember them through root words, you need to remember by associating them with people around you, celebrities, anyone, and you need to use them in sentences, and you also need to be watchful that if this word has various parts of the speeches and meaning is also different depending on how they are used as noun or how it is used as a verb. So this was particularly my first topic, that what is the methodology that you should be using to develop a quick and heavy vocab. So grasp method, guys. Now moving on to the next stage of the class where the vocabulary starts right away. Okay, तो अब चालू करते हैं. टारगेट है कि हम कम से कम 200-250 वर्ड्स तो इस वीडियो में सीख ही लें. मे बी इसको पार्ट 1 कर लेते हैं, बट आई रियली वॉन्ट टू डू लॉट ऑफ वर्ड्स विद दिस सेशन and see this video again and again. I am sure you will have lot of words very soon on your in your memory. Let's do it. So हम vocab की शुरुआत करते हैं मनी चार्ट से, जो कि मेरा ऑल टाइम फेवरेट vocab बिल्डर है, जिसे मैं कहता हूँ मनी चार्ट. एंड जब भी पैसे की बात आती है तो एवरीबडी वॉन्ट्स टू बी रिच, एंड वी एसोसिएट मनी विद पीपल इन वेरियस वेज. हम लोगों को पैसे की जब भी बात आती है तो ये ऑफ कोर्स vocab का हिस्सा इसीलिए इम्पॉर्टेंट है कि आपको मनी या फिर फाइनेंस, ये दो ही वर्ड्स पता होते हैं. बाकी जितने भी वर्ड्स मनी से रिलेटेड हैं वो आपको पता नहीं है, जो आपकी एंट्रेंस एग्जाम में आ सकते हैं. एंड यू रियली नीड टू टेक ग्रेट केयर ऑफ इट. Let's do money chart, and I'm sure you are ready to learn all the words that you need for the entrance and in your life as far as money is concerned. How do we relate money with the people, guys? So we know that the people who are rich, khatam karo isko, finish this. If you know that people who are rich, what are the two words that you would use for something which is rich, lavish and luxurious? Finish it. Use the word affluent and use the word opulent. I know you want to say wealthy, but wealthy is a very occasion a general word. If you really want to see it from an entrance exam perspective and slightly better sounding word, use the word affluent, use the word opulent. So we know, let's take example of Mukesh Ambani. Of course, he is one of the most affluent men of India, right? He lives in an opulent house. Use them. Now you know what are the words when it comes to the funda of being rich or wealthy, right? Next, when we associate money with people, we know that there are people who are miser. What do you mean by this? We know money people don't want to spend. Some people hold money very tightly, right? वो कहते हैं ना कि चमड़ी जाए पर दमड़ी न जाए. So वो कहते हैं कि you can take his skin but you can't take his money, and those are the words for the people who never spend money. We know miser has been a very basic word, and why don't we add our vocab here? Stingy, we know this general word. We use the word parsimonious, right? We know a word skin flint. We know a word which is Scrooge, right? So when you talk about the people who are miser, who never spend money, right? Word like cheese spatter, right? Word like close fisted, parsimonious. How about remembering this word from Parsi community? Parsi people are very conjuice. Just, just joking. But, I remember this word because parsimonious. Okay, Parsi people are conjuice, so parsimonious is somebody who is very, very miser. Now, when you know what are the words for people who are misers, they are stingy, they are parsimonious. You can call them as a skinflint. You can call them as a Scrooge, not the Uncle Scrooge, but Scrooge, cheese spatter, close fisted. This is fist and it is tightly closed, and what is inside it? Money. So it's very बोलते हैं उसके हाथ से पैसा नहीं छूटता है. Close fisted. Remember these words as far as the people who are miser. Relating money with people, there are some people who are not misers, but we call them as economical people. That means they would spend money whenever it is necessary. So they are cautious with money, they are sensible with money, and that's where people who are economical, you need to know, the words which come in the exam, and economical is very important. Guys, frugal, thrifty, husbandry. I'm talking about economy, I'm talking about economical, right? When I talk about frugal management, when I talk about thrifty management, when I talk about economic conservation, I use the word husbandry because the base word is husband, and this might be sounding funny, but this is not the husband that you are thinking. Husband as a verb means to economize one's resources. Continuing words for people who are economical, they are provident, they are sumptuary, and then you realize that okay, I understood that, now I know what do I mean by provident fund. So provident is being economical, money was saved. Sumptuary, and another top word for people who are economical, it would be prudent. Now prudent would require an additional amount of attention, but just recalling all the words that you need to know for the people who are economical: frugal, thrifty, husbandry. Husband it means to economize resources, and if you remember animal husbandry, that means economical conservation. That was the whole idea. Provident fund, provident, sumptuary, and prudent. Remember ICICI Prudential. That means prudent, prudential has to do with money because ICICI word, that company is there, right? So prudent is sensible in general, but specifically sensible with money, right? So economical. So you need to understand that there are words which will have a broader application, and then there are words which would be used specifically with certain contexts. So prudent, like for example, broadly you can use it for anybody who is sensible and wise and cautious, and here you can call it as economical because somebody who is economical is naturally sensible and wise and cautious when it comes to spending money. So remember the word provident. We are continuing our money chart. What we have done so far, we have done the whole funda of being rich, we have done words for people who are miser, we have done for the people who are economical. Now you must have got this, that automatically the next part of the money chart would be about those people who are wasteful of money, right? अभी तक हम जो पैसे बचा बचा के कभी खर्च नहीं करते थे, those were misers. Now there are people who are wasteful of money. They are wasteful, right? And those words are very important, like the word which is prodigal. I hope you have heard this common term or common phrase, prodigal son. So if I'm calling a prodigal son, that means he's definitely he's wasting a lot of money of his father. So prodigal. And then I have this word which I call it as profligate. Then I have a very important word when it comes to wasting is a squander. Then I have a word which is super important, which would be thriftless. So now you can remember that I talked about people who are thrifty, who are economical, and then thriftless, or you can call them as a spendthrift. These are some top words when it comes to being wasteful of money. Prodigal, profligate, squander. You can use it again broadly. You can use it for anything you waste is to squander, and one meaning of squander is definitely to waste money. Thriftless and spendthrift. So continuing with our money chart, you have now words for wasteful of money, you have economical, you have people who are miser, and you have people who were rich. What can be the next part of the money chart? People who do not have money. Poor people, they don't have any funds. So automatically you see how money chart grows and how easy it is, remember, to do the words indigent, impecunious, impoverished. Don't mind my handwriting. And then destitute. Of course, guys, penniless, mendicant, pauper, panhandler. Look at the words. Poor people who do not have any money, they are indigent, indigence, right? Indigence is poverty. Impecunious, impoverished countries, Ethiopia, Uganda, impoverished countries, right? Destitute, penniless, pennies for money, so penniless. Like for miser, you could have said penny pincher, penny pincher. So miser, I recall this word, right? Mendicant is specifically, you can use it for beggar. So do not use a word when you go to a street light and you see somebody asking for money. Remember the word, tell to your friend, look, a mendicant has come. So mendicant is for beggar. Pauper, prince and pauper. Rank and raja. So pauper is somebody who is completely, he has no money. Panhandler is a top word. Some other words for poor people is ragamuffin, of course, ragged clothes, okay. And then a related word with this category is abject. Guys, abject is not lacking money, but when I try to say R means related word, this means that some people, poor people usually live in abject conditions. So the best way to remember the word abject is the word with abject condition. And if I say, what do I mean by abject condition? Something which is miserable, something which is wretched, something which means lacking pride. So remember slums of Mumbai, Dharavi, people live in abject conditions, right? So that's where abject is a related word. It doesn't mean directly lacking funds, but of course it's a condition which is relatable for all the poor people. So it means lacking pride, or it is miserable, or it is wretched, right? So you do these words and you suddenly realize that you have done so many words with just one money chart, and the story it continues. What are the other words? Why don't you replace the word financial itself from your life? So financial benefit, for example, okay. So financial, we've been using a word in economics, fiscal. So we know fiscal is also related to money. Then you need to really know this. So monetary benefits. So when I say monetary ka matlab hi hota hai something which relates to money, right? So something which is pertaining to money. And continuing, which is pecuniary, right? So remove the word financial from your life and add fiscal, monetary and pecuniary when it comes to remembering words which would relate to money. Now look at the money chart, it still continues. We know when it comes to money, we talk about debt. Now debt means what? Debt means, the money which cannot be recovered or paid, that goes into debt. There are debt funds also, and you are not able to pay my debts, that means I owe you a lot of money. So what are the words when it comes to, we relate to debt? What are the words for people who cannot pay their debts? So when it comes to GRE and those kind of entrance examination, insolvent is a very frequent word, right? Bankrupt is something that you already know, right? So people who are insolvent, people who are bankrupt, they are those ones who cannot pay their debts, right? Even we know a word deadbeat is in the same family, and of course we know a word defaulter. Look at the words, right? You are growing your vocabulary, and just one smaller thing you have done, that all these words would relate to money. The journey continues. Next fundamental after the word related to debts is a general word which is mercenary. Have you heard this word mercenary? You must have seen Hollywood movies, and mercenary is a hired soldier. We all know that, right? But I mean, mercenary is a hired soldier, but does that, why then it's in the money category or money chart? The answer I'm going to tell you right away, because mercenary means somebody who is motivated only by money. So you can say that I don't like his attitude, mercenary attitude. So mercenary, add to your books, mercenary means motivated only by money. You getting my point, right? So, and a related word, you can always say that there are people who are, greedy for wealth or greedy for money. You can use a word avaricious, right? So avaricious is also, avarice is greed for wealth. So avarice is greed for wealth. So another word for money chart is avaricious, avarice, because avarice is nothing but greed for wealth. Mercenary means somebody who is motivated only by money. Now, probably here I would like to conclude and recap the money chart. And you did so many words just with this one concept, and now your brain should have a separate box of money chart. You should know the words which are for the rich people, poor people, people who are miser, people who are economical. What are the various words when somebody who cannot pay their debts? What are the various words who are motivated only by money? What are the various words for financial, the word financial itself, right? And that's how you build a vocabulary. So we are done with one of the first chapters of vocabulary, which was nothing but money chart. Let's continue to the next chapter. All right, guys, so I hope you liked our money chart. And before I move on to the next segment of this, vocab movie or marathon vocab session, do not forget to like, subscribe and share our channel. Let's continue with our vocab journey. Now, after money chapter, let's understand talk chapter. So when we were doing money chapter, we did a lot of words which were related to money. Now talking, people talk, right? Now there are various ways the way they talk, right? There is Shashi Tharoor, who talks very effectively, like our Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is also a very effective speaker. On the other side, there is Basanti of Sholay as a character. She used to talk more, right? Then there is some other character where that person is talking. So there are various ways of talking. Let's do them. Let's not talk. Let's get onto the action, right? So I hope, just see this little video, from movie Sholay, and let's get started.
समझाना तो बहुत अच्छी तरह आता है इमाम साहब, और आपके बेटे को भी समझा सकते हैं, लेकिन देखने वाली बात ये है कि जब तक हमको ये नहीं मालूम हो कि हमें समझाना क्या है, तो फिर हम समझाएंगे कैसे? फिजूल बात करने की आदत तो है ही नहीं। लेकिन सोच लो, ये कारखाना बीड़ी का है। जब तक दिल चाहा काम किया, नहीं तो आराम से बीड़ी पी ली। यानी कि ये तो वही मिसाल हो गई कि आम के आम गुठलियों के दाम.
All right, so you've seen the movie, and this is one of the greatest, magnum opus. Oh yeah, I just used a vocab word, right? So Sholay was one of the biggest magnum opus. Do and search magnum opus. What does this mean? I'm not going to tell you. I am focused on Basanti's character, and that character always used to talk and talk and talk. So yes, you're right. First part of the talk chapter for all those people who are chatterbox, right? Who keeps talking, difficult to shut their mouth, right? And such people, in when we call them excessively talkative, you really have to understand we call them nothing but, they are chatterboxes. And then you call them loquacious, you call them garrulous, you call them verbose, right? You call them prolix, right? There is another word, voluble, long-winded, right? Guys, these are the words when you can use for everybody who talks excessively. The output of talk is more. And before I really move on to, next subparts of talk chapter, I do want to emphasize that loqui, loqua, loque, it's a root word for talk. As I told you in the first segment, that you can always you can take help of root words and understanding words. Loqui, look at the word loquacious. So when you see the loqua, loque, loqui in any word, you get this right, that this word relates to talking, right? So now you have words for the people who talk more. And as I told you that while you do the words, the usage would be flexible as well, so that sometimes you would see these words are also used in when the output, not only in speaking but in the writing, is also more. So that way you have to take great care. So chatterbox, loquacious, garrulous, verbose, prolix. You say that his speech was full of prolixity, verbosity, right? Volubility, long-winded. Don't forget these words when it comes to a talk chapter first part, excessively talkative. And don't forget the loqui as root word for talk, right? Coming to the next part of talk chapter, these were the people who were talking more, right? Excessively. Now these are the people who talk big. So boasting is one of the basic words, right? So when you boast, okay, you talk big. You try to make things look bigger rather than what they are. Sometimes your accomplishments or something else. And boastful, and a very general word that we all know, to brag. Now I hope I'm trying to relate to a simpler vocabulary also. So boasting and bragging, and then you get the entire set of words where people's attitude or the way they talk is talking big. So magniloquent, loqui, loque came back. Magni is for big, magna, magni. So magniloquent, right? Then you have the word as grandiloquent. Grand is also for big. Now you got there what I'm trying to say. People who are bombastic, or their nature is bombastic, their attitude is bombastic. Pompous. Pompous is a broad word which we'll use, in arrogant people also. But let's try to continue with bombastic and pompous and grandiloquent and magniloquent. And when I'm talking about brag as a word, I use the word braggadocio. What an important word, braggadocio. You can have a double G also here. You can talk about blow hard, right? So all these words, blow hard, right? I told you don't get onto my, spelling. It's beautiful. So blow hard, braggadocio, pompous, bombastic, boastful, right? If people have their behavior as stilted, another top word that you have to use is rodomontade. Rodomontade, R-O-D-O. So rodomontade, stilted. You know, people, they're sometimes their talks or their claims are lofty, right? They're talking big about things, right? Another word in the very similar segment is going to be inflated. तो तुम्हारी जब language inflated होती है, ठीक है? और as a related word, I would want to put exaggerated, or another top word which is hyperbole or hyperbolic. Guys, when you see this particular family, right, you really understand that people who talk big, and while people talk big, the way they do it, it is exaggeration, it is hyperbole, right? So when you blow things out of proportion, that is what to exaggerate, and you know, that is what an hyperbolic language is all about. And then you have these words in the similar context where people talk big, right? They boast. So they are magniloquent, they are grandiloquent, they are bombastic, braggadocio, blowhard, stilted, rodomontade, right? Talking about the word pompous, it is slightly broad. You know, pomp दिख रहा है, आप बोलते हैं ना pomp and show. You know, sometimes these fat Indian weddings are all about pomp and show, right? So may not be exactly talking big, but this is also in a way talking big plus arrogance. So both are the elements are a part of this word pompous. Otherwise, remember these words for talking big. We are continuing with our talk chapter. We have done 2 segments, talking big and talking more. Now talking effectively, which we said that all those amazing speakers, maybe Shashi Tharoor, maybe Modi, and when you talk very effectively, as I told you, you got this word eloquent. Now look at the loquy again coming into picture. So eloquent. So eloquent is also the same concept, talking effectively. Maybe a mnemonic can be there, E for effective and loquy for talk, so effective talk, right? Then there is a top word, rhetoric. You know, some people know the art of rhetoric, which is a broad word. So whether you write or whether you speak, it applies everywhere, right? So when you know the art of rhetoric, your communication is very effective and persuasive, right? Another very basic general word that we all know is articulation. Yani when somebody knows how to articulate, that means he knows how they have to really communicate effectively. So articulate, rhetoric and eloquent. We are continuing with talk chapter, 3rd segment, which relates to talking effectively. Okay, moving ahead with the next set of talk chapter. Sometimes we talk roundabout when we get late at home. We're reaching night at 2 o'clock, and then the parents are asking, where were you? So we're not going to give a straightforward answer. We'll start talking roundabout, right? And that's where round, we know a word circum, and loqua for talk. And when you talk roundabout, the very important word is circumlocution. How talking and the root word loqui is really helping us. Circumlocution, talking roundabout. Okay, moving ahead with the talk chapter, where you say that, okay, circumlocution is something that I understood as, talking roundabout. Sometimes some people have this bad habit of talking bad for people, right? Behind their back, or bad mouthing, trying to damage somebody's reputation. So see the magic of talk again. Root word loqui came back, obloquy, right? So if there is an obloquy in any written statement or any speech, that means it's trying to defame someone or damage someone's reputation. Obloquy, how easy it is, right? So that's where you understand talk chapter continues. Sometimes the loqui root words also going to tell us more words like colloquy, so colloquial. Now You know, when you talk about language and the expressions, there is a word colloquial. So loqui, that means it is certainly, it would relate to talk anyhow. So colloquial is a way of expression in terms of language where we convey things informally, right? So colloquial, as the name itself suggests, that it relates to talk. And colloquial is used the way we express things informally, right? So we know that certain words are said informally in a certain manner. So informally, use the word colloquially. So you say that this is known as this, colloquially this is also known as this. So colloquially is nothing but informal. So this is probably an informal way of expression. So guys, talk chapter, and you learn how when we say people talking more, people talking big, people talking effectively, you know, people talking roundabout, people talking bad about people, and colloquially, and when they use informal expression or language. I hope you learned this talk chapter and you understood that these words are super important. They can come in GRE or any other entrance at any point of time. Let's move on to our next segment of vocab learning, which would be another chapter. So how wonderful it is to have these chapters, and we're trying to group the words, and we're moving ahead, and our next chapter is moral chapter, right? So we really try to understand that words related to morality and ethics are also very important, right? So when you know that, okay, morally you were right, morally you were wrong, what are the words that we can really, you know, relate? So I would call it as a moral chapter, right? Let's straight away understand that when we lose our morality, okay, when our morals start becoming loose, or we start losing our integrity, right? What we become, you know, and there are words for those people who actually, you know, became morally loose, and that's how you understand lovely words like depravity. So you become depraved, right? There are lovely words which would be related like debauchery, right? Improbity. You know how amazing these words are. So improbity, debauchery, depravity, right? Dissolution. Okay, so when you really talk about words, when you really see these words, you really understand immediately that, okay, there is a separate set of words when people are morally, they have lost their character, they have become depraved individuals, you know, they have become debauched, right? They become dissolute. So dissolution, the person would be known as dissolute. Improbity, right? Another important word for all of us is turpitude, right? So when you talk about these words, that's where you have to remember them when you have lost the, you know, moral character and you have undergone moral looseness. So remember, depravity, debauchery, improbity, dissolution, and turpitude. Such important words. And what are those words? When we try to remain morally upright, okay? So we use the word, of course, probity would be one of them because we have done improbity. But you know, we use the word when we try to practice the integrity, right? When we try to use the word rectitude, which is the right attitude, rectitude. So you know, uprightness. आप बोलते हैं यार वो पुलिस ऑफिसर बहुत upright है. Upright है मतलब he is not going to take any bribes, right? And look at the integrity, integral. So it is remained whole in terms of its morality. It hasn't broken down to pieces. जैसे आप dissolution देखते हैं, तो dissolution is actually the way aspirin disintegrates in water. In the same way, your morals are disintegrating. They are becoming loose, right? And that's where you have these two important aspects of moral chapter, where there is a one word where we are morally loose, there is one word where practicing morality like integrity, rectitude and uprightness, and of course probity. And then there are two words which are very interesting, where you are being taught, and you're being given instructions what is good in terms of morality and what is bad. So moral lessons. So when you've been instructed moral lessons, people are trying to edify you, right? So it is very simple. I want to rewrite this: edify and didactic. So very clear. When edify word comes into picture, to instruct morally, it's a verb, and when you say that your every statement is didactic, then you know that you have been given moral instructions. So when instruction nahi, moral instruction, and that's where you understand the words edify and didactic. And in general, whenever we get a chance to understand the goodness of character and badness of character, always remember two words: virtue and vice. So one is Bhagwan Ram, Lord Ram, which is virtue. So man of virtue, we use this word. When people are man of virtue, that means they are known for their good character, and that is why there is a word which is virtuous, right? So when people are virtuous, they are known for their character, the goodness of the character, and people turn vicious, right? They become bad in terms of their character. So wise, vicious, virtue, virtuous. So this was little bit of an idea about your moral chapter, and where we are morally bad, where we are morally right, and that's how you really have to understand these words, right? So I hope you understood what moral chapter is all about, and what are the various important words which would be related to morality you might be seeing in the entrance examination. And continuing our vocab marathon, next set of words is about two basic concepts, right? You praise someone, okay, and you criticize someone. So let's get into those words where you have done something wrong, okay? Whether you have broken a plate, or you have stolen money from your father's pocket, or you've been caught doing something wrong, or you have not fulfilled an assignment. All these words will happen to you, right? So the next set of chapter is about criticizing, it's about punishing, or it is about scolding, isn't it, guys? So this category is one of the most important categories, slightly bigger category also, and all these words would happen to you if you do something wrong, right? And that's why the broad title of the category is to criticize, or to punish, or to scold. Let's get started with this, right? So let's do those words where you will be either criticized or punished or scolded, right? Somebody's angry at you, or you've done something wrong. These are the words which will happen to you. And the first word that we always do is admonish. The best way to start this particular family, admonish, that means somebody is angry at you and he is given you warning, right? So admonish means to warn, that's all. So admonish is sort of mild scolding, right? But then of course, then even if you don't adhere to the rules and still you commit mistake, then people would rebuke you. And the R series: rebuke, reprehend, reprimand, then definitely reproach, reprove. Look at the R series, so big. Rail, rant. We've seen a lot of rant videos, so people are really scolding on something and they're making those rant videos. So look at these words, how easy it is to learn the words. So there are words from R which would be related to rebuke, reprehend, reprimand, reproach, reprove, rail, rant, even revile. Okay. So when you do these words, you really understand that you've been scolded, you've been criticized. Now it is so easy. Now focus on C series. Like there are words from R for scolding or criticizing, then there are some words from C also, right? And without a shade of doubt, one of the first word that we get is castigate, which is a very famous word. So castigation, castigate is super important. Then there is a word which would be chide. Okay, just a second guys, pen is not working. So chide is an important word. I told you it's a bigger family. Be prepared for so many words. Censure, right? When you are censured, when you are chided, when you are castigated, when you are chastised, chasten, chastise, very important word. You're being punished, right? Then I move immediately to D series. Up after C, the words like denounce, the words like decry, the words like diatribe. I told you it's a big family, right? Then you have words like tirade, then you have words like traduce, then you have words like vituperate, then you have word like upbraid, not upgrade but upbraid, and berate. Let's take some rest. So many words. Criticize, scold, punish. Don't forget these words. Any word would be in front of you on any given exam day, right? So admonish is to warn, but rebuke, reprimand, reproach, revile, reprove, rail, rant, revile, castigate, chide, censure, chastise, denounce, decry, diatribe, tirade, traduce, vituperate, upbraid, berate. Even would want to add a word which is harangue, right? So when you're being harangued, you've been given a long speech full of scolding. Do not forget these words. They are super important. This entire family where you've been denounced, where you've been vituperated, berated, admonished, rebuked. This is super important stuff guys, right? So हमको पता होना चाहिए कि जब क्रिटिसाइज कोई हमको करता है या हमको कोई स्कोल्ड करता है या पनिश करने की बात करता है, ये सारे वर्ड्स आते हैं. एंड आई कांट रियली एम्फसाइज इनफ ऑन द इम्पॉर्टेंस ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर फैमिली. We are continuing with our vocab marathon. We are done with this wonderful criticize, scold, punish family. Now we are moving to next set of words, which would be a pretty popular concept and chapter. The words which would be related to being sad. We know, I mean, we talk about sad or sadness, and we use this word more or less in our daily usage. So when you are sad, when you become sad, when you see someone sad, please try to understand and recall these words, right? So the concept would relate to being sad or sadness. I mean, as I've been telling you, we've been using some basic words, like we've been using the words like depressed, we've been using the word like dejected, okay? Dejection, all reflect state of sadness. But when we talk about state of sadness, there is more to it. There are a lot more words when we talk about being sad. So, depressed, dejected. Then I talk about the word disconsolate. So, the idea is D for dukhi. Why don't we have all the words, right? So, dejected, disconsolate, desolate, downcast. You're doing words for sad from D. Dolorous, doleful, despondent. Guys, it's easy to do words. Look at the words from D for being sad, despondency, desolation, downcast, dolorous, doleful, disconsolate, despondent. And when you do these words, it's very, very clear that we are trying to, do words from D as far as sad is concerned. Now, some other general words which are very important: lugubrious, okay, melancholy, grievous, grief, grievous, very important word when we talk about being sad, okay. Grievous, melancholy, lugubrious, crestfallen, plaintive, elegiac. Elegy is a sad song, so elegiac. Now guys, we're trying to understand various words when it comes to being sad. And if you remember these words, when you see lugubrious, when you see melancholy, when you see grievous, crestfallen, plaintive, elegiac, you are in a good state of words when it comes to the words which would relate to being sad. However, some word might deserve a more important attention. जैसे आपका the word which is desolate. Desolate is not only sad, it has a broader connotation. Like you've been using desolated islands, so that doesn't mean sad island. Sad, lonely and wretched. So when something is in a wretched condition, something is in sad condition and also lonely, then you use the word desolate. So desolate is slightly a broader context, right? So desolate is sad, lonely and wretched. And in a similar way, along with the word desolate, you can use a lovely word forlorn, right? What a lovely word, forlorn. So when you say that, he was in a forlorn state for 5 years once he lost his fame. Now you got that? So forlorn is also sad and lonely. Desolate is sad, lonely and wretched. So here is your wonderful category as far as when you want to really understand the words which would be related to being sad. However, a very generic word related to sad would also see sorrow, so sorrowful. We also see words related to mourning. Somebody has passed away, so we mourn his demise, we mourn his sadness. So mourn is also for being sad, and then woe is also our sad thing. So like vocab may be one of your sad parts of GRE preparation. So you say, I'm fighting with my vocab woes, right? So you see sorrowful, you see mournful, you see woeful. Another word for any sad expression is also to lament. So when you see lamentations, when you do lament something, you express that sadness. So now I do feel that the category looks more complete, and all the words which would relate to sad, please give separate attention to the word forlorn, which means sad and lonely, and desolate is sad, lonely and wretched, like a desolate island, right? Moving ahead with our vocab marathon, our next chapter is exactly opposite of being sad. It's being happy. And of course, being happy means joyous. We know these words. You all know that when you are in a state of joy, you are joyous or you are happy. But these words are not about joy. These are about great joy, slightly extreme side of it, right? And when you are in a state of great joy, right? Okay, the words are euphoria. There is a famous band in India in the name of Euphoria, but that's not we want to refer. Euphoria is basically a state of happiness. It's a medical word which would relate to sometimes the happiness and the highs due to some psychedelic substances. So that's there, this what I'm talking about. But euphoria is when you say I am euphoric, you got 325 GRE, you will be in a euphoric state. So that's what euphoria is all about. And of course a very popular word is ecstasy, okay, ecstatic. Then there is a word elation, when you are elated, when you're in a great joy. and there is a word rapture, which also mean, so these all words would reflect nothing but great joy, a state of great joy. जब आप बहुत ज़्यादा खुश होते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा हैप्पी होते हैं, तो आपको वर्ड देखने को मिलता है ग्रेट जॉय, यूफोरिया देखते हैं, एक्सटेसी देखते हैं, इलेशन देखते हैं, एंड रैप्चर देखते हैं. These are the words that you are supposed to use, which we understand as great joy. So you saw, now you know certain words for sadness, and then there are words which express not just being joyous but immensely joyful, ecstatic, being elated, in a state of rapture and in a state of euphoria. Right, everyone, so continuing with our vocab marathon, or as I would want to call it, as vocab movie, because you must see this video again and again so that you will start remembering those words, and you will know that in the middle of the video this particular category was taught, and so on. So in this segment we will be talking about words which we can relate to certain celebrities, because of course they are inspiring and positive, or maybe they have some negative aspects of their personality, but they are famous, and once they are famous, it becomes easy to relate certain set of vocabulary to them, right? Celebrities like the great captain of Indian cricket team, ex captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni, Captain Cool, and then we see certain words that we can relate to Virat Kohli, very popular. Then we can relate to certain words like historical figures like Hitler, Mussolini, right? Or some other historical figures. So let's get started. Let's get started with Dhoni, Captain Cool. You all know. So of course, what is one quality that this guy is really famous for? Of course, he helped India won the World Cup, all the trophies that are under ICC. But with Dhoni, one quality which was reflected with him everywhere, he was always composed. He was always cool. He was always cool as cucumber, or he was always calm. So why can't we have certain words for that quality where he displayed composure, right? And when we really talk about the whole concept of composure, right? Composure ka matlab, I would want to put it as mental balance, right? You do not lose your temper easily, right? And that's where you see the words like equanimity, you see the words like aplomb, right? You see the words like sang-froid, right? Not sang-froid, but sang-froid, and a very general word like poise. Guys, these are the words that you need to remember for the when you see Dhoni again on the screen, that okay, this boy or this man is really blessed with equanimity, and you know what, this is the quality which separates men from boys, the composure, the mental balance, right? So poise, sang-froid, aplomb, and equanimity. And you want to use the word in a different parts of the speech. The people can be termed as phlegmatic. Phlegmatic. They are unruffled. Very important. So phlegmatic, unruffled, unflappable. They are imperturbable. Perturb is to disturb, and things cannot disturb them easily. They are equable, right? They are equipoised. Look at these words, so many words for, the quality where you are completely calm and composed. You are not losing your mental balance. You are equable, you are equipoised, you are imperturbable, you are unruffled. Ruffles are basically any disturbance in smoothness is actually ruffle, and ruffles are wrinkles actually, which you see comes on the forehead of the people, right, when they are in anxiety. Unruffled, nothing disturbs you, nothing brings wrinkles to your forehead. That is what ruffles is all about. So phlegmatic, unruffled, unflappable, imperturbable, equable, poised. So these are the words for Captain Cool, and what is that particular quality is equanimity, aplomb, sang-froid, and poise. So remember these words for the people who are calm and composed. Of course, few more words you can always add in the similar concept, like staid, staid. So when you are composed, that's also a word that you can use, staid also. So you're moving on to the next celebrity after Captain Cool, another famous Indian cricketer, which is definitely Virat Kohli. And what Virat Kohli is known, apart from his fantastic batting skills, he is known for his aggression. Now, this is one of the very important families. When people are aggressive, or when people are in a state of aggression, or if the aggression or the aggressive word has to be used, you got to remember these very, very important words: belligerent, bellicose. Of course, the word like combative, right? You need to know the word like pugnacious, right? Now, belly itself is a root word for war, right? So when you say, okay, belly, warlike personality, people who are warmongers, right? So always ready to fight. You call them as people love to get into disputes, and people love to get into controversies. So they're very argumentative people. They're very disputatious people. These people love that aggression. These people love that aspect of, their personality or nature. They're very belligerent. They're very bellicose. They're combative. They're pugnacious. They are warmonger. And in a very general way, you can call them disputatious. So probably, if I have to say that what particular word that I would associate with Kohli, one of our favorite cricketers, I would say, okay, bellicose and belligerent and, warlike personality. And the title of this particular family would be aggressive / aggression. So do not forget pugnacity, right? So pugnacity is again in a similar way. And when you want to talk about aggression, use the word belligerence, use the word, bellicose. जैसे आप कहते हैं कि एक नॉवल है जिसकी मार्केट में डिमांड बहुत अग्रेसिव है, तो यूज द वर्ड दैट द बेलिजरेंट डिमांड ऑफ द नॉवल. ओके, सो यूज द वर्ड अग्रेसिव इन इट्स वे. सो we talked about this personality, another famous personality, which was nothing but Virat Kohli. Let's move on to another famous personality, Ranveer Singh. Okay, of course, this boy is really doing well in Hindi cinema, and I think we see him in some amazing clothes, right? Maybe people call that as his fashion skills, but I think those clothes are outrageous sometimes. But outrageous is a different GRE word that I'll teach you in coming hours. But his clothes are showy, his clothes are bright, he heavily decorates himself with such kind of clothes. So your title, I think Ranveer Singh, his clothes or sometimes his fashion style is flamboyant, right? His fashion style is absolutely ostentatious. So now I'm teaching you some great words. His clothes, we've seen garish. His clothes are gaudy, right? His clothes are tawdry, right? His clothes are, meretricious. Meretricious. Okay. So when you talk about meretricious, it is E. So garish, gaudy, tawdry, meretricious, right? Another word when things are heavily, decorated with anything is the word rococo. So, flamboyant, ostentatious. Remember, or maybe Bappi Lahiri, the way he adorns himself, the way he decorates himself with gold, right? Okay. So, ostentatious display of gold, garish, gaudy. These are the colors which are very showy and bright, tawdry, meretricious and rococo. So all these words mean nothing but excessively showy and bright, and any of these words might come in your exam, because I've seen flamboyant and ostentatious are being so frequent in GRE. So you really have to have these words, and this would help you remember. Now whenever you see Ranveer Singh on screen and maybe a pic of his on social media in some clothes, right? Okay, then these are the words: garish, gaudy, meretricious, rococo, and another word which is very famous, ornate. So ornate has ornamentation. You can see orna, right? So too much of ornamentation is ornate actually, and that's why the idea is nothing but heavily decorated, excessively decorated. The way we see a lot of celebrities, sometimes the way they carry themselves, so ostentatious display of wealth also. So showy, bright, heavily decorated, these are the words that you would want to remember, right? And of course, so you now understand that we are relating very well. We related with Dhoni, we related with Kohli, we related with Ranveer Singh. Now we are relating the god of romance, which is Shah Rukh Khan, right? And he represents the romance in the best form as far as the screen romance is concerned. He is the best example of a romantic boy, okay, or a romantic or a lover boy. So when you want to see best example, right, so what are the words for best example? So when I say Shah Rukh, okay, he's the best example of a lover boy, okay, or of a lover. And in that way, when you say anything is represented in the best format, it is quintessential, okay, it is epitome, right? So you say he is an epitome of romance. So epitome, quintessential. He embodies romance, so embodiment of something, okay. Paragon, paragon is also the best example. So look at these words. When you say you want to have the words for best example, remember the words as quintessential, epitome, embodiment, and paragon. Now you know that, okay, you would say, of course, now you would see less of Shah Rukh Khan on screen for some time because of some unwarranted circumstances. But when you see him or when you see his movie, remember this boy is lover boy, or he's in paragon when it comes to romance. So best examples: embodiment, epitome, quintessential, and paragon, right? Moving on to the next personality is Hitler. Hitler defined history in some or the other way, right? Whether it is related to World War or whether the way he actually dominated, he wanted to dominate, or he wanted Germany to dominate. So when we talk about Hitler as a historical figure, we do have words which would be nothing but the great dictator. So dictatorship is all about domination, and when you talk about the word related to domination or dictatorship, I would love to start the category with the word domineering. So when I say, okay, I know what do you mean by words which would be related to dictator, you really need to have the words such as domineering, and all the words which actually found their place in Hitler category. So Hitler was a despot, Hitler was a tyrant. I'll tell you more about these words. His methods were completely imperious. So imperialism जो हम कहते हैं, right? So ये word बहुत ही important है, which comes in the exam. Just a second. Imperious, yes. Dictatorial, totalitarian. Get ready to see this exam, this word in the exam. Totalitarian is one of the top 50 words. So domineering, despotism, tyrannical methods. So when somebody is a tyrant, is a dictator. Imperious, totalitarian, this absolute, arbitrary, I'll be telling you, magisterial, autocratic. A very general word is bossy. Okay, overweening. It's a big family. Overbearing. Guys, dictatorship, domination. Use the words which are domineering, despotism, tyrannical, imperious, totalitarian. Absolute is one is complete, and one absolute is also the kind of methods that people use. So, absolute way of rule, that means total domination. Arbitrary, one meaning is random, and one meaning of arbitrary is nothing but dictatorial, magisterial, autocracy, autocratic, one of the topmost and very basic words. Bossy, by the word, this word is not going to come in GRE, bossy, but it will still, you will be able to remember, okay, bossy means dominating. Overweening, overbearing are two words. Some people have this overbearing personality and overweening. So a slight of domination is the, major funda with their attitude actually. So guys, despot is a direct word for a Hitler or somebody who's a dictator. Tyrant, tyrannical. So what is the biggest fear of democracy? The biggest fear of democracy, that it should never turn into the state of tyranny, right? And that's where when you talk about rule, okay, these are the words, right? Very, very important word, talking about being a dictator or being a domineering personality, right? So that's what, Hitler probably helped us in getting some words when it comes to GRE. और हिटलर की मैं बात करूं तो हिटलर के सहारे से, with the help of Hitler, we can remember, let's say, one more set of words. Hitler was responsible for the greatest massacre in the history, mass killing. He probably killed lakhs of Jews. We all know that, right? So when people are killed in masses, when people are killed in large numbers, it is usually referred as genocide. Of course, genocide, bactericide, side is for killing, CID. So genocide ka matlab killing of a race. It was not a killing of a race though, but killing at a very mass level is genocide. And I told you that common word which is massacre, a general word for that is also slaughter, okay. So when you talk about killing at a destructing life at a mass level is also carnage. Any sort of destruction is carnage, but carnage is also mass killing. So guys, never forget these words for mass killing. And Hitler and mass killing, it is very closely associated concept, or very relatable. So genocide, massacre, slaughter and carnage, right? So Hitler now gave you two families. One is mass killing and one is domination or dictatorship, which is totally totalitarian, right? And that was Hitler. We are moving on to the next segment of words. All right, so we are continuing with our vocab marathon or vocab movie, and next set of words would also be super interesting, right? Let's get started with some very simple words which would relate to certain personalities. Some people work very hard, right? Okay, so people who are very hardworking, okay, why don't we have some words? Why we can just use this one word, hard work or hardworking? Let's replace this, and then that would be followed by the people who are super lazy, right? So let's do this. People who are hardworking, remember words like diligent, remember words like industrious, remember words like schedulous, okay, remember words like assiduous. Somebody is going to ask you, what are the words for people who can really work hard? These are the words: diligent, industrious, schedulous, assiduous. And what are the words for those kind of tasks which require a lot of hard work? That those kind of tasks would be strenuous, it would be arduous, and it would be toilsome. So toilsome, arduous, strenuous. These are the tasks which require a lot of hard work, and the people who are hard working, these are some of the most important words. Of course, you can always add a word like laborious. We all know that laborious is a very basic word. So when we say, what do we mean by the words, for the people who are really working very hard, they are diligent, they are industrious, they're assiduous, they're sedulous, and they're laborious. And when it comes to the words like strenuous, arduous, and toilsome, these are the tasks which would require a lot of labor or effort. And then a fantastic related word, it is application. Now, one application is that you file, okay. Now, this application, how does that relate to the concept of hard working? Application means diligent attention. जो कहते हैं ना मेहनत और लगन, वहाँ पे आपको ये वर्ड ध्यान रखना होगा. एप्लीकेशन का मतलब होता है diligent attention. That means your hard work and sincerity toward anything is your application toward it. So remember the word application, which would mean nothing but a diligent attention. So now we've understood the concept of hard work. Let's move on to the people who are not hardworking at all, who they are couch potatoes, they are lazy dogs, right? So the people who are lazy, okay, there are a lot of words in the same segment, but remember a word like indolent, okay. Remember a word like sluggish, lazy. Remember a word like languid, okay. We know that animal, sloth, so slothful. A very top word like lackadaisical, right. So somebody who is really lazy, these are the words which are very frequent in the exam. Of course, you can always have a word like torpid. The torpid, lackadaisical, slothful, languid, sluggish, and indolent. So these are the words for the people who are lazy. And there is a very famous word for laziness. It is lassitude. तो अगर आप बहुत lazy हैं तो you are suffering from lassitude, and you are indolent, you are sluggish. Sluggish का मतलब ही होता है slow, because sluggish metabolism अगर आपका है तो it is very slow and lazy. So remember sluggish in a broader context, slow and lazy. Languid we know, slothful we know, lackadaisical we know, torpid, and of course torpid had other parts of the speech as torpor. Torpor is also laziness. So slothful, indolent, lackadaisical, sluggish are very famous words. So remember two sorts of people: sluggish, which are lazy, and hardworking, right? So just doing these set of words in a quick way so that you remember there are few words for hardworking people, there are few words for lazy people, and you can see the video again and again to remember more about this, right? Next set of words would be really important, because you must have seen those states which would relate to confusion. There are states which would relate to chaos, right? So why don't we understand when we want to express the whole idea that you are confused? Do you know any other word when you are confused? Do you know any word that you want to use apart from the word confusion or confused itself? And that's where I want to give you certain set of topmost words which would be a great asset when you want to really use them, when either in terms of entrance examinations or in other ways. So when you want to understand the words which would relate to confusion, always say three words first, and it's an alliteration, it's kind of a rhyme: addle, muddle, befuddle, right? So confuse की जब भी बात आएगी तो हम पहले बोलेंगे addle, muddle, and befuddle, right? So I am addled, I am muddled, I am confused, and then you can really build the whole words which would relate to being confused. Discombobulated, pretty heavy word, but then that's what you need to know. Bamboozled. So you really need these words, right? And then super important words like flummox. Super important word like fluster. You know this legendary word like perplex. You know this word like baffle, right? So addle, muddle, befuddle, discombobulated, bamboozled, flummox, fluster, perplex, baffle, nonplussed. Nonplussed is confused, as simple as that. Nonplussed. Okay. Then there is a top word, discomfited. Confused, confound, one of the most important word for confusion, and obfuscate. So when you write an essay, write it without any obfuscation, confusion. When you say that this whole scholarship का जो फंडा है, it is very confounding, that means confusing. So when the words related to confuse, right, or confusion or confused, these words are there, you have to remember addle, muddle, befuddle, discombobulated, bamboozled, perplexed, baffled. You are confused, you don't know what to do, say I am baffled, right? You don't know that the opponent's next move of chess has really baffled you. You don't know what to do, you are totally confused, and that's where obfuscation, discomfited, comfited, and nonplussed, and these words, super important family when it comes to the words which would relate to confusion. And of course, the moment I talk about confusion, it is natural for me to take the next set of words which would relate to chaos. Guys, chaotic situation, you remember recently you saw those videos of people at Kandahar airport. Look at the video, please. Yeah, I'm not sure whether it's Kandahar or Kabul airport, but you saw there's a state of chaos. What is the word? State of chaos, right? So such state of chaos, you need to know the words, and they are very, very common. So when you say that state of chaos, you need to know a state of chaos maybe in your mind, maybe you're seeing on the roads, right, the way traffic runs in India. Total chaos. These are the words that you would use as tumult. These are the words that you would use as turmoil. Okay. There are words which would relate as pandemonium, right? So remember pandemonium. Okay. Then we're talking about any such chaotic state. It's going to be known as uproar. Uproar is a noise, but the state of noise and confusion is uproar, uproarious. It's all about chaos and confusion. Okay. Another sort of chaos because of a lot of crowd is bedlam, and you have a word like stampede. These are words for great chaos, any sort of chaos. So remember tumult, turmoil, tumultuous situation. Okay, I am going through an emotional turmoil. Okay, pandemonium, uproar, bedlam, stampede. The idea is to express words which would relate to the state of chaos, right? And that is where it is very important for you to, when you see turmoil in exam, when you see tumult, when you see bedlam, uproar, the idea is a state of chaos. But you should be doing a bit of extra reading on the word uproar, because roar is there, so it relates to noise. So uproar is definitely, uproarious is noisy in general, but uproar is also noise and confusion. The whole uproar word. Bedlam, we know stampede, which we see in temples, right? And because of bedlam, stampede, a lot of people die sometimes, and that's what the state of chaos is all about. So super important words, right? Some general words, any sort of chaotic situation is also termed as helter skelter. ये भी काफ़ी एक बेसिक वर्ड है, helter skelter, hurly burly. So you go in the lab of a mad scientist, So you will see things here and there, and the lab is in a state of chaos. So that's a hurly-burly setting of that lab. So hurly-burly, helter-skelter, right? These are the words which would relate to chaos, and one must remember these words if somebody is really serious about the exam. So this is confusion and chaos. That's how you remember the word. So chaotic situations inside your head, or in otherwise, or in general way, all the basic words which would be related to confusion. Moving ahead with our vocab marathon, we are talking about next set of words, and they're super interesting. Have you ever seen that famous monument of Egypt, जिसे हम Sphinx कहते हैं, right? You can see the pic in the corner, and that Sphinx is a symbol. And what kind of a symbol it is? So remember Italy, this is your mnemonic, and Sphinx is symbol of mystery. So now you know what I'm talking about. I want to tell you every word which would be related to the concept of mystery, and it would be called as a Sphinx-like, which is mysterious. And what do you mean by mysterious? Anything which is difficult to understand. That's all. So this category title, it's nothing but difficult to understand, and some very, very important words which would have a broader connotation. So pay attention. So I'm talking about something which is mysterious. I'm immediately going to write words like enigmatic. I'm going to write words like esoteric. I'm going to write words like runic. Guys, mysterious, enigma is a puzzle. So enigmatic, difficult to understand. So we have the words which would be related to mysterious, enigmatic, esoteric, runic. And the idea is nothing but difficult to understand, right? More words, anything abstruse is difficult to understand. Anything which is inscrutable is difficult to understand. Anything which is incomprehensible is difficult to understand. Anything which is unfathomable, it is unfathomable for me to understand you over and over. Something which is difficult to understand. That is what these words are. However, there are some more words where direct meaning or the base meaning is little different, but overall meaning is difficult to understand. Let's look at the words like arcane and occult. So they both mean something which is hidden, secret, but then broadly they mean difficult to understand, right? So something which is arcane, how it will be difficult to understand? Because it's hidden and secret. So remember, when you say something secret, something hidden, arcane. So you say, I got this, I found this stone which is 500 years old, and there is something written on it in an arcane language. Getting my point, right? That's how you learn the words. Then another word where again things are difficult to understand or comprehend is obscure. Obscure is one of the top 500 GRE words for that matter, and anything obscure is hazy and dark. Anything hazy, anything dark, and that is why it is difficult to understand. So if something is obscure, that means it is in dark, it is in haze, and that's why it is difficult to understand, because you can't see through, you can't have a vision through. So very important word, obscure. Then there is another very important word, profound. Now profound basically means intellectually deep. बोलते हो ना कि क्या गहराई वाली बात कर दी आपने, तो मेरे को तो भैया पल्ले ही नहीं पड़ी, right? So when something is profound, it is deep. Because it is intellectually deep, it is a bouncer, it is difficult to understand. So profound, remember, specifically as intellectually deep, and broadly as difficult to understand. Obscure as a word is very basic and important. Something dark, hazy, so as difficult to understand. Obscurity is darkness. Something arcane and something occult is hidden, secret, difficult to understand. And then you have these top words which would mean difficult to understand. Adding more words, recondite. Recondite is also difficult to understand, and that's how you have this lovely family where the idea is of mystery. The idea would relate to something which is difficult to understand. We started this with Sphinx, the symbol of mystery. Anything mystery is difficult to solve, or and because it's difficult to understand, and these are the words. And remember these words again, arcane, occult, obscure, profound, where they would, teach you that what is their specific meaning and how they reach to the broader connotation of being difficult to understand. And that's how, you remember this wonderful family. And in continuation, why don't we understand the word enigma? Enigma is a puzzle, and anything puzzle is difficult to understand. And when you talk about enigma, because it is difficult to understand, it is a puzzle, remember a general word for puzzle like maze, like rebus. ये सब puzzle के words हैं. Like a word which is labyrinth. I'm not sure whether you have even heard this word. Byzantine. Okay, ये सब words puzzle के लिए हैं. So Byzantine, rebus होता है puzzle in form of pictures. Labyrinth, maze, enigma, and the legendary word that we all have to remember. It is conundrum, guys. Conundrums of science. And conundrums of science means what? Puzzles, right? So conundrum is puzzle, enigma, maze, Byzantine and labyrinth and rebus, all of the words related to puzzle. And because we're doing this difficult to understand and puzzle wale words, you have to understand some basic word for the word, something which is complex or complicated. Remember a top word, intricate. Remember a word like convoluted. Remember a word like involved. Guys, I want you to replace the word complex from your life. So remember the word intricate, convoluted, involved. Now, if one involved is a different word, that you are involved in drugs or you are involved in something. But this involved, it has a secondary meaning. And involved का जो secondary meaning है, वो है nothing but complex, intricate. So remember, do not forget this. So involved, convoluted and intricate, never ever forget this. Complex आपने देख ही लिया है. So intricate, convoluted, involved mean complex. Then you had the words for puzzles, and then you had the words for which would be related to mystery or difficult to understand. So we are continuing with our vocab journey, vocab marathon, and I'm again telling you the best way to remember this video, or to make use of this video, is to see the entire length in a very strategic way, right? So you need to know that you can see this for the first 15 minutes and the next 15 minutes. Just make your own strategy and look at the description and read the description, because we have suggested in what way you should be using this particular video. There is a lot of words remaining and it's going to continue. It's a huge video, it's a long video. Let's continue our vocab journey. Thank you for watching this long video, but that's how you can build vocab. You got to be patient. Vocabulary cannot be built overnight. So see this video again and again, and then you will start seeing that the words have started getting stuck in your head somewhere. So you should know that this long video is only made and this is just part one. There would be more parts which would be coming in coming days or months, so that you can have as many words as you can. So please continue seeing this video again and again, and all the words are super relevant. And what I can say, that all the parts that we are trying to make, we can always say proudly that none of the words would be coming out of all the words which we have tried to cover in these videos. So stay tuned for the part 2 and more parts which would be related to your healthy vocab building. And of course, a humble request again to like, subscribe and share. This is one of the ways that you can reciprocate in terms of our hard work that we are trying to do toward your mentoring and career building and study abroad dreams. So do like, subscribe and share. Thank you so much.